said we would start after 5:20, and here we are at 7:19.
Listen, I have a good explanation.
Okay.
African time.
Real? No,
African
that's
time.
real.
It's a real thing. That's. I think it's like something that we're just born with at this point.
We have to explain. You have to explain African time.
You know what that is?
I'm from Alberta, so I don't really know anything African. I'm sorry.
Well, African time is, there's this notion that showing up to an event on time is forbidden. You literally can't do it. If a barbecue starts at 3 o'clock, it is polite to show up at 6.
Okay.
Maybe even 7, just to
6, 7.
Just to
And
get the
if
same
you
side.
think you're cool, show up at 10. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because the barbecue actually won't start till like 7, even though they said start at 3. It's sickening.
I recently went to an African wedding. They told me I should have listened, but I'm thinking because there were a couple white people coming, so I'm thinking, maybe they're gonna switch it up. Yeah, accommodate for them, right? Nah, it wasn't the same. They said 7, right? I walk in empty, right? No, like empty, right?
Crazy.
And then people start walking in. It's like 8:30. People keep walking. It's 9, 9:30, 10 is when they started the wedding.
That's crazy.
The wedding, and I ended that one, but like it was a good wedding, but like. Yeah, African time, I don't know.
You have to lie to them. You have to actually lie. Like, I don't know. Okay. So we're talking about MAID in Canada, which is medical assistance in dying. And a little disclaimer, we're not professionals or psychiatrists.
We're not.
So we're just not trying to take an exact stance or tell people how it should be like exercised. But we're just asking us to think about the power structures in place and who gets to decide who can be eligible for assistance in suicide.
Oh, can I also add, like, none of us, at least to my knowledge, are chronically ill and would potentially need MAID in the next 10 years. So I think that's important to acknowledge as well, just for not dying currently that I know of, at least.
Yeah,
so.
Sure.
Well, first question is it a crime to kill someone or help someone die?
That is a very good question.
I feel like we can take, I don't know, like, how would you react to being asked that question before knowing about MAID?
Before knowing what MAID?
Yeah.
Well, I would say it probably is in a sense, because it depends how you value life, right? I feel like there's a lot of factors that factor into it, right? What's your religion, your tradition, and stuff like that. To take a life, usually in a lot of traditions or a lot of religions,
it's not okay. Like,
it's a sin.
Killing the Bible.
Exactly, right? So it depends how you look at it from that standpoint. But if you don't have any of those religious beliefs, and you're more so like, I'm my own person.
Perfect.
Right? And
I feel like that's where we've come to in this Western part of the world.
Yeah.
Where there's a separation between like the church and state or whatever, like just religion and the government.
Yeah.
And, to provide some pretext is that in 2015, they made an amendment where it's like, okay, now you can access MAID in Canada. And it was ironically because it violated like the rights where it's like you should have liberty over your own life. So I guess liberty over your own life gives you like the means to end it. So
I was just gonna add, like, I think it depends on the context for me. If the person was like, it was like a mercy killing, for example, or if they were truly suffering and to live on would be more suffering than I think the death itself, then I think I would help them die, or I don't know, the word to kill also seems more violent. Like, it seems like I'm murdering them. But if I'm
like saying like killing somebody, like
or like if they're bleeding out, they're gonna die anyway. Then it's like, okay, sure.
I feel like an argument prof would tell you, well, helping someone die and killing someone is hard to differentiate because you said eventually going to die. We're all eventually going to die. Killing someone then would mean you're helping them die because eventually they would perish.
That's true, but I guess like if the death is imminent, like if they're gonna die within like the next like. For example, if they have ALS and they're going to die in the next like year.
That's perfect. Yeah.
But then eventually they expanded it. And it's like, why would you expand a resource that's like taking lives? Yeah. And they expanded it to include those who have disabilities and mental illnesses. And what do we have to say about that?
That is kind of crazy. That is kind of crazy because with disabilities, right? A lot of people are born with some sort of disability, right? That they kind of have to live throughout, right?
But some are more severe and some are more visible than others.
Yeah, more severe than others, but at the end of the day, they still have to like live through it and kind of like go through it, right? So for them to say like, okay, well, since you're disabled, right, you're not really living a normal life, we can give you like another option to like end your life. You know what I mean? And in some religions and some traditions, it's like that's seen as like completely wrong. Yeah. And I feel like them opening that up to them means they're indirectly saying that like being disabled is like a bad way to live, right? And that you guys have the option to end your life because you guys are not living fulfilling lives, which is crazy. You know what I mean?
That's insane to say. That's insane to say. But I feel like when you put in legislation like that, it makes it seem like, no, this is just like chill until you like, I remember article asked you to replace it with another word, like replace disabled with racialized. Like if you are black, you were allowed to request for MAID. And I'm like, brother, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So do you have any notes you had?
Well, yeah, I was just going to talk about, so I think right now is how it works with like chronic illness is, and it's more, I guess, so if you are chronically ill, you have some sort of immunocompromised disorder or anything else like that, then you can apply for MAID and potentially get it. And I think like that idea is like, how do we define what is healthy? And I think like in kind of our like Western, like, I don't know, like capitalist society, we think of like, if you're not productive, you're almost like not worth living. And I think that is present here. Like if you're chronically ill and like in your mind, because you're not productive, you can't like afford a house, you can't
like benefit to society, right?
So then MAID becomes the only option for you because you can't like afford these things that you would usually get if you weren't chronically ill. And I think like it's interesting because MAID provides like one of the rules I think they have in is like they have to give you counseling before you choose to die if you are chronically ill or if you're not like imminently going to die. But I think even then, like if you can't go to counseling because you're so sick that like you're not going to die right away, but you can't like physically get to counseling or you can't access psychotherapy or whatever it is, then I think like you're still like your only option really becomes like death.
But so, even more, I was reading, it's like the intermediary between the access, like the hospitals and the client is a psychiatrist. Like I feel like we often try to obscure, like there are people involved in this process, people with like implicit biases. What if this person is like doing a half-assed job counseling and they're just like, hey,
that's
man,
true, because not everybody does their job,
you know what I'm saying,
at 100%.
And I feel it's important to consider that because I was taking an art history course. You know, my uncle was making fun of me because I was like, it is the constructions of race and gender. And already he was like, bruh. You know, he was like, bruh. But what I took like from that course was like crazy is that there's two models that we can approach disability with. And there's the medical model, which sees disability as something to be fixed, managed, or cured. It focuses on trying to change disabled people rather than the systems or structures, which is like at the heart of MAID. It's like rather than make care more available or infrastructure better for those who can't access society as freely or live as freely or satisfying life, they're like, okay, we can fix it another way. And then there's the social model, which I think makes sense just from like an intuitive standpoint, where it's you recognize that bodies, like as you said, come in many shapes, configurations, and work in many different ways. And its disability is not, the onus is not with the person individually, but lies within the society to make it accessible to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because is someone with a wheelchair truly disabled if we just stop making everywhere like stair accessible? If we make it like more flat and put ramps in places, what doesn't make you different from anybody else or make your life harder to live? And the same disability only appears when one encounters a barrier. It is the barriers that produce disability as opposed to the person themselves, which I feel is like a kind of a new take I think we should take from it. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but I like the social model way more.
No, I agree. Well, even like in this course I'm taking right now, mental health and society, they talk about like how things are coming increasingly medicalized, which means like they're becoming more like of a presence, like something that you wouldn't really consider a medical issue is now becoming a medical issue. So an example would be like, if you're grieving, usually it's like a natural process, people go through it, but now it's become like, if you grieve too much, you get a pill. And that's seen as like a disease. And so I feel like it's kind of what you were touching on, where it's like we rely too much, I think, on like psychiatry, kind of these like these sciences that like there isn't necessarily like a need, I would say, to kind of like, I guess I was just trying to say, like, I think if something is seen as bad only because like doctors have decided that it's bad, like, who gives them that authority? Who gives the psychiatrist that authority?
I was like,
coming back to what you're saying, like those people who like put those things in place, right? Those bills, right? Where does their jurisdiction come from? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do we know they're really qualified to actually make these bills? To say that disabled people are now qualified for MAID, like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? I guess they don't really show that to the public, right? It's kind of just like, oh, this is kind of like what it is right now, right? And people, I don't really know if people really question it like that, or people just accept it, right? And then
like people don't know about this bill.
That's what I'm saying.
People telling your story. I was like, what is this? I feel it's also not the biggest issue yet. Like it hasn't been, I feel like, overused. It's just like a potential, like it's a gateway opened up that could continue to be.
Oh, I agree.
Continue to be used.
Yeah. Oh, I looked it up, and 2% so far of assisted deaths, I think in 2021, were due to those with chronic illnesses who were not actively dying of their condition. So when 2023 comes along, and that's when they're introducing the mental illness clause, you could have the potential. I think on the website they mentioned like depression and personality disorders specifically, and you could use that as an argument as to why you'd be applicable for MAID. So definitely, I think it could increase in the coming years.
Yeah, so I guess it becomes like, should MAID be so easily accessible rather than making like therapy more accessible or just like changing infrastructure?
Personally, I don't think it should be accessible, regardless of your condition, because I feel like I'm not the person who has been through like anything. To be honest, I don't really know people who've been through like chronic illness, right? But I do think there's value in life that people just aimlessly throw away just because of like whatever they're going through is too hard, right? Yes, there are some people who have like really fucked up illnesses where it's like maybe the only option for them is death. That would make it easier for them. But at the same time, I feel like being it easily accessible, there should be like a crazy ass process. You know what I mean? It should be like really hard for you to actually get MAID.
I feel like it should be easier to access help that you need to better yourself than to access an out.
That's what I'm saying.
But then there's another side, because while we have our side, there is a study that was done in Ottawa, and it's actually like discarding. This is like a different topic entirely, kind of. It was talking about, does socioeconomic like standing influence like people's choice of MAID? And it says that there is no link between socioeconomic vulnerability and MAID, but it's like a small study done in Ottawa. I was like, I low-key would question that, but it's like whatever.
Yeah.
And it says that the people who applied to it had existential distress, and 50% of them were married, and 85% lived in a private home and were in a high income neighborhood. And I was like, at that point, I'm not.
I wonder if it's because like the people who are using, like right now, it like they just recently opened up to chronic illness, so mostly it's been people who like have ALS, have something that they're going to die within like the next year, like it's imminent death. I think so far, like people who live that long tend to probably be like if you're old enough to live to die of cancer, usually you're probably higher income, like you're doing better for yourself, and you're just older naturally, so you've accumulated more wealth in your life. So I think like when they open up to chronic illness, when they open up like to mental illness later on, like it's interesting. I think that you say like socioeconomic status doesn't matter. Because I think right now it hasn't mattered, but I think when we open it up later on, to people
like
with
how
mental
long?
illness, then it will matter. Because like there's direct correlations between people with schizophrenia and poverty, and same with like things like depression. Like obviously, if you're poor, you can't afford things, you're gonna be depressed,
bro. If you take that anthro course, like you're talking about the sex, food, and death, you find out how critical like poverty is and how it just like loops everything together. You're like, wait, like the amount of like what's the thing was like two things at once, like it's a double diagnosis, like a double
comorbidity.
Yeah, the comorbidity of like poverty.
What the fuck? Whatever.
That's the exact word. The comorbidity of poverty and like several other illnesses is like just through the roof. Like poverty is like an actual problem.
Yeah,
that sounds stupid. Like that's obvious. I don't know. I'm like, poverty's a problem, guys.
No. Well, the way I think about it is like MAID is almost like a Band-Aid fix. Like it's like, well, why would we give them social systems? So instead we'll like give them a way out, which I think maybe it comes from a place of compassion. I don't know. But I don't think
it does.
Yeah.
I think he was telling me something else. He was like, the amount of money or stuff that would needed to be expended to fix the infrastructure in place is like,
like I don't think it's compassionate at all. Maybe like I don't think so. The fact that it was easily accessible like that means that, like there was no compassion for them. Like they didn't really try to like help them.
Yeah.
Like put the, like what James said, put the systems in place to like actually help them and deal with their problems. It was like, all right, yo, we'll just here's MAID.
We can't help you.
Yeah, we can't help you. Just take it. So.
Yeah.
I don't really think it comes from compassion in that sense.
I guess like more to clarify, like I think I meant like compassion as like I think they like understand that like they're suffering.
I feel like they think they understand what they're going through.
They think that they
do they really understand?
So like
I don't
to
think
them,
they do.
Death is the only way. Like how many chronically ill people are actually in government right now? Like probably no one.
No, I don't think
there's a lack of representation. I would say as well.
So it's like I think they don't I think maybe to them in their minds, they're like the only alternative to being chronically ill is death. So that's why we don't have the support systems for them.
But what about the people who are actually like actively
who are seeking MAID?
Yeah.
I guess it depends on like what kind of people do you mean?
Like
people who are,
let's say somebody who's like going through like crazy depression, like his life is shit.
That I would obviously be not. Like I think that's different.
So would you try and help that person?
Support systems. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Definitely. What was they're actively going up to you and they're saying like, but like I want to die. Like I've done everything I could in my life. And it was just
here's what I think. This maybe sound like kind of stupid, but I feel like you're not always in your right mind when you say something, if that makes any sense. And you can't always, you know what I'm saying? Like whenever someone makes a decision like medically, they have to be like, that word is like, you have to be like conscious or whatever it is. Like you have to be like in a clear state of mind. And I feel like if bro is like, I want to end it all and he's depressed, well, no shit. It's like, I feel like you should give that person still a chance at life as opposed to being like, no, you're right, you're spitting right now. Because that's how their brain is going to think. They can't change their thoughts they literally have. You literally can't think of anything else because that's your mind state right now. But let it pass and sleep and you're like, I was saying that it's important to like, I feel like be involved or pay attention to bills that are passed that involve a lot of people, or to at least take more of an interest in public policy. Because I remember I was talking to my dad about the housing crisis in Toronto, and I feel like a lot of our parents, I don't know if we might be the same way when we grow up, but he was kind of like, he didn't
care. Like there's no empathy.
He felt like I was naive for trying to think, oh, the housing crisis is caused by this. Like I wrote a whole paper on like the treating of housing as commodity as opposed to a living space, like real estate investors trying to make money off of the actual houses as opposed to like giving people accessible spaces is what's causing this crisis. And he's like, okay, and so what? Like there's opportunity there. And I'm just like, brother, like why are you framing it like that? He's like, you have to understand, like you have to look out for yourself first. Are you going to like try and make the world a better place like that? You're just trying to give everybody free housing. You're gonna lower your rates of rent because you see people suffering. And I'm just like, I don't understand like what you're trying to say, but I was like,
I'm confused. So he was trying to say like,
he's trying to be like, worry about your own self. Like don't be having these grandiose ideas about improving society. He felt it was naive to be thinking about other people and their problems in the rent like housing crisis and to worry more about myself. And I was like, but see, that's the kind of advice parents will be giving their children.
I understand where he's coming from because he just wants the best for you. And sometimes when you like try to help out too many people and you can't help yourself, you put yourself in a even a bad situation, right? Yeah. So when he says that, I understand it's like he's not saying it maybe because he's not like empathetic, but it's like, hey man, like I know it's like a crazy world out there, right? There's so much bad things going on, but at the same time, you do have to help yourself, right?
Yeah.
Hey man.
So like,
man.
But at the same time, like I feel like he should have like articulated his.
I don't know, man. I just feel like just kind of cringe to like whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I get
like
it.
if we all take that attitude, let's all take the help yourself first attitude, and let's see where that gets us as society. That's all I'm saying.
It's brought us situations like MAID where people who are mentally ill can potentially have access.
But you know what? Let's just, I'll be quiet. Maybe I'm not critically thinking.
If more of us had that helping hand attitude, right? I feel like there would be differences just in our capitalist society, right? It's like everybody just kind of wants to
like make money,
be their own boss, and just like
be independent.
Yeah, it's so individualistic.
The idea of like a holistic or like dependent community is outdated. Yeah, and like after reading MAID, my first thing was like to volunteer. For like an old home or just go somewhere where I can like actually do something or just like help a bit more. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Like that's the only like practical way to contribute to making stuff more accessible.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just thinking like I think like MAID legislation as it almost seems like they keep like expanding it to include more people. And I think like that kind of shows like what value we place on life and what value we place on like non-normative life. Like if you don't follow like what we traditionally consider like a successful life, a healthy life, anything like that. Like I think at the end of the day, like we don't really know what's going to happen. I think like what does it mean to be normal essentially is I guess is what I'm asking. And like for someone to die because they don't follow maybe what we classified as healthy, what we've classified as like a good body, a good mental state. Like, I don't know. Should they be given access? Should the suggestion be for them to die? I guess, like, should that be there for them? It doesn't seem like, it doesn't really seem fair. I don't know. I don't know what word I would use to
fair is fair. I feel like fair is a good term. Like, it's not,
I feel like, but fair people will be like, what does fair really mean? By ambiguity, but let's think about that.
It's a good.
Let's think on those words. That's food for thought. You have anything else you want to say? Or?
I feel like we can even tie this kind of in our culture, right? Where if you were to tell your parents that's
crazy.
If you were to tell your parents you're trying to like end your life, they would like, I don't even know what my dad would do to me. My dad would look at me like I'll be crazy.
He'd be like, you're so funny.
Yeah,
like, this is a good stand-up.
He'd be like, what? Yeah, he'd like, nah. And then I think my parents were like, just in Africa too, like it's seen as like taking the easy way out in life. Yeah. Right? It's seen as like such a big thing, like that's bad. It's a sin. Or whatever, but you can see here in the Western area, it's more accessible, and I feel like the values in Africa and in other parts of society
we should incorporate.
We can incorporate it here because I feel like it's no. Just like in those, like in terms of like life, like helping people,
like the value of life and
value of life, right?
Things like that.
Because I wouldn't say it's helping people. What I would say, is I feel like it's not so much helping, causing someone to prolong their life
Mhm.
when they claim they're suffering, or prolonging someone's life without providing any meaningful assistance is what I'd say it's more accurate. It's more like closer to than like helping someone, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Like it'd be more like, no, it is a like, don't kill yourself. We're not gonna help you, but like, don't kill yourself. I feel like is what it would be more like. Like it's a sin, like because it's considered good to like suffer in a sense. Like
It's kind of
it
like
shows that
pious
you're enduring.
almost.
Like God will provide. There will be better after. You know what I'm saying? And that's the attitude that's adopted. And maybe we could benefit from taking that. It's good to suffer sometimes.
I don't know. I feel like if you have cancer and it's stage 4, maybe you've suffered
I've
enough.
Never been in
I don't
pain
know.
like that. So who am I to fucking say that?
I'm not
going through cancer.
I don't know. Like I don't know half of the even like 90% of what people
That's
go
what
through.
I'm
You know what I mean?
saying. So I feel like I can't be the one to ever say like I can't understand someone's pain and tell them no, it'll pass, brother.
You should do more in society to like help people and make it not as easily accessible to different groups of people.
And just be careful where we expand MAID into. Like why are we expanding it into like psychological disorders? I don't quite see how
that's crazy.
Is compatible with the whole point of MAID.
What would be next? Like I feel like there's just like you go down the hierarchy and they just be like,
what's that fallacy called from argumentation? Do you remember? It was like, the slippery slope.
Oh yeah.
Is that like what's next? Women?
No.
We don't know.
Please no. I love women and I would hate that.
You love women, huh?
Yeah.
Cut that up. This is good.
Right.
We already wrapped it up, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Fuck it. Can we just end? I feel like we're allowed to end.
Yeah, we're
if
just
someone
end.
comes this far, like fuck it, they didn't want a closing.
Yeah. All right, guys. This is episode 10. If you guys enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe, turn on the post notifications for more content. If you have any questions or thoughts, leave it in the comments below. We'll definitely check it out. Yeah. We'll catch you guys next time.
And say thanks to Medi. Thanks, Medi.
No problem.
All right, lit.